Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the movie review series. And today I'm going to be talking about another DC original animated movie, Batman: The Killing Joke, which came out in 2016. And this is something that I have been wanting to talk about for quite some time now. And for me, Batman: The Killing Joke needs no introduction. It's considered to be one of the greatest Batman graphic novels of all time, and it's certainly for me in the top five greatest Batman stories ever told as far as comic books are concerned. And The Killing Joke was always something that I have been wanting to see be made into an animated movie for a really long time, ever since I got a copy of Batman: The Killing Joke, which was the hardback edition, and I've read it many, many times over. It's an absolute classic. It really captures the grittiness and madness of the Joker and the menacingly personal rivalry between Batman and the Joker. And it really shows you the different opposites of the coin of what Batman and the Joker are all about. And it's interesting because both Batman and the Joker were born out of an unfortunate event. Bruce Wayne, of course, lost his parents when they were murdered in front of him as a child. That put him on the path to becoming Batman. The Joker, on the other hand, in his words, all it took was one bad day to push him over the edge to become the psychotic clown killer that we all know. So it's interesting how Batman and the Joker are on different paths, but at the same time, they're more alike than you think. And for those of you who know, Batman: The Killing Joke is adapted and based on the original graphic novel of the same name, which was written by Alan Moore and illustrated by Brian Boland. And of course, when you've got a Batman animated movie, you've got to have the classic cast. And it wouldn't be a Batman animated movie without these guys. So we've got Kevin Conroy providing the voice of Batman. We've got Mark Hamill providing the voice of the Joker. The lovely, talented, and versatile Tara Strong as the voice of Barbara Gordon. And joining the classic DCAU cast is Ray Wise as the voice of Commissioner James Gordon. So it's pretty cool that we've got the classic voice of Batman, the classic voice of the Joker, and for me, the classic voice of Barbara Gordon. All due respect to Melissa Gilbert, who was phenomenal as Barbara Gordon in the early episodes of Batman the Animated Series. But when I think of Barbara Gordon, I think of Tara Strong because, she's got such a distinct sound in her voice. When I'm reading dialogue, Tara Strong's voice is the first person that comes to mind when I'm reading dialogue from Barbara Gordon slash Batgirl. Now, this animated movie got an R rating, which is perfectly fine with me because Batman: The Killing Joke is a very graphic, dark, and at times horrific story. So, for something this big, you need it to be R rated. And it just makes perfect sense, really, to give such a personal story this kind of treatment. Now, after having watched Batman: The Killing Joke several times, I rewatched it just before doing this. I still enjoyed it, and for the most part, the animated movie stayed completely true to the graphic novel, almost. But there was one thing that I had a huge issue with, and that was the prologue of this movie involving Batgirl. Now, everybody who has watched Batman the Animated Series, the new Batman Adventures, and of course, Batman Beyond, it was always mentioned and addressed that Bruce Wayne and Barbara Gordon had a relationship. And me and Geeker Beyond, we've talked about this loads of times. The idea of Batman dating his best friend's daughter, who just happens to be Police Commissioner Gordon, I have always found that to be very creepy and very weird because, first of all, Barbara Gordon's much younger than Bruce Wayne, although they never really fully disclosed how old Barbara Gordon was in the show. I'm going to say she was probably maybe within consensual age, of course. I'm going to say probably 18 or 19 years old at the very least. And Bruce Wayne, I'm going to say, unless someone can correct me otherwise, I'm going to say Bruce Wayne was at least 35, at least mid 30s. I just never really liked the idea of that. And we got that here again in The Killing Joke. Now, Bruce Timm went on record to say that he wanted to come up with an original concept of the fans getting to spend some time with Barbara Gordon before the events of The Killing Joke for sympathy reasons, which is fair enough. I can appreciate that. But I just didn't like the idea and the way Batgirl was written for this movie. Barbara Gordon, I always remember, even going by the show, she was very much her own person, very independent, always liked to do things her way. And although she always valued and respected Batman's opinions on things, she was still determined to do her own thing and do what she thinks was her call to make. But in this movie, she just came across as a bit of a bunny boiler. She just came across as very clingy, very possessive of Batman. And Batman is being Batman. He's all about the mission, he's all about getting the job done. And you could see at the beginning she was yelling at him for ignoring her and why aren't you, you know, acknowledging me and stuff like that. And after they took care of business and, you know, did what they had to do, beating up the thugs, they got it on top of the rooftop, which to me in animation just came across as really off because that's not really Batgirl's character. Now, if that was somebody like Catwoman slash Selena Kyle, I can appreciate and respect that because, you know, Catwoman is a very kinky lady. You know, she's into all sorts of things and she's very how should I put it, loves to live life to the fullest. She loves to live dangerously. And I appreciate that. To me, Batgirl doing that just doesn't seem like it's a character. It just seemed a bit off. That was my big issue that I had with this movie. Now, I'll get to my rating at the end. I'm going to talk a bit more about the movie. If they had made the Batgirl prologue as an extra, like something like a DC Showcase short, I would have been totally fine with that because it wouldn't have been connected to the movie. It just would have been its own thing. 5, 6 minutes at the most would have been fine. And as far as the animated movie itself, I think I probably would have put this movie even higher than my rating, which I'll give at the end, because had it not been for the prologue, I probably would have put this up there with Mask of the Phantasm, Under the Red Hood, and Return of the Joker. You know, this probably would have been in top 4 or 5 at the very least. But unfortunately, the prologue makes this movie lose a couple of points with me. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. Now, the rest of the movie, excellent stuff. Loved every second of it. As I said, Mark Hamill, what can you say that hasn't been said already about Mark Hamill? He is the definitive voice of the Joker. He always gives it his all. He always gives the best performance ever. I still say, as far as voice acting is concerned, Return of the Joker was quite possibly his finest hour. But with The Killing Joke, Mark Hamill gets to go a lot more darker and a lot more sinister than he ever did in Return of the Joker. Because Return of the Joker, although it was a very dark movie, it wasn't R rated as such. Killing Joke, on the other hand, oh yeah, it's a totally different ball game. And we all know what happens here. Barbara gets shot and paralyzed after landing in a glass table thanks to a bullet wound by the Joker. And he takes pictures of her and he picks up a glass of wine and, raises his glass in a sick toast and says, "Here's to crime." Couldn't ask for a better opening. Now, if that had been the opening for the movie, whew, good stuff here. Now, the opening of the movie itself was very interesting because, as I said, it's pretty much an animated adaptation of Alan Moore's original graphic novel. So, Batman goes to Arkham to talk to the Joker to try and resolve this war in a more peaceful and civilized manner. He goes to his cell in Arkham, he sits down and talks about how this war's going to end. It could be him, it could be the Joker, and he realizes he's talking to a Joker imposter, and he pretty much shouts out, "Do you realize what you've done? Do you realize what you've just unleashed?" So that was a very chilling way to kick off this animated movie. And Joker's done some horrific things in his history. Killing Jason Todd, paralyzing Barbara Gordon, you name it. Joker's done it all. Now, here, his motivation in the animated movie, he just wants to drive Commissioner Gordon to the point of insanity because he can. It's his idea of a joke. He just thinks, well, wouldn't it be funny if I pushed Commissioner Gordon over the edge? And what he does to him is just absolutely repulsive, which I'll get to. Now, origin wise, we do get the full origin of the Joker. Now, I always remember the Joker was Jack Napier, who was a hitman for the mob, encountered Batman in a chemical plant, and Batman tries to save him, and he falls into a vat of chemicals, and after getting blasted in the mouth, and becomes the Joker. Now, here, they adapt the origin story from the 50s comics, Who is the Red Hood, but they expand on it. So this is what we see in the flashback, which they've done in black and white. I thought was a nice touch. And it's kind of cool. We get to hear Mark Hamill doing the voice, but in a much more calmer and almost normal manner. So when he does get to become the Joker, he really dials it up to like 100. So what we learn here about the Joker in the movie is we don't really know his real name. They never really address what his real name is, but we do know that he's married, his wife is pregnant, and he's a failed comedian. Nobody laughs at his jokes, and he's pretty much a harmless little dude. He's wouldn't hurt a hair on anyone's head. Hold my pack of cards, or hold my crowbar. It's things like that, really. So he meets these two gangsters who said they can help him, but he has to do a job for them, which will guarantee him loads and loads of money to support his wife and unborn child. And we also learned that the Joker was originally a technician in the playing card factory. So that's pretty much true to the old story in the 50s comic. And obviously, we know that there have been lots of different people who have worn the Red Hood costume over the years. So everybody thinks that he's the Red Hood, he's the ringleader of the gang, and he meets Batman for the first time. And Joker, of course, says, "Stay away from me, don't come any closer." And he loses his balance and falls into a vat of chemicals. Now, I always remembered in the comic book, he jumped. That That's what I always remembered. He jumped into the vat of chemicals to escape Batman. But over the years, that's kind of changed a little bit. It's always been left up to the idea that did Batman push him or did the Joker fall? It was always implied that, or did he jump? It was never really fully confirmed what actually happened when he fell off the catwalk that day. So he falls into the drainage after falling into the vat of chemicals. He gets washed out at sea, takes his helmet off, and we get that iconic shot of the Joker looking at himself in the puddle, in the reflection, as he holds his head and he starts laughing uncontrollably. That to me is a very iconic shot of the Joker being born. I thought that was a very well done scene in animation, and it looked really scary because at first he looks at his reflection in the puddle. You can hear him weeping, but then slowly he breaks down and starts laughing uncontrollably to the point of madness. So I thought that was a very well done moment and also a turning point because now the Joker is officially born and he begins his reign of terror. Now we see that Jim Gordon has been kidnapped. Joker has bought out a fun fair, and I've always said that fun fairs can be fun, but at times they can be creepy. So depends on how you look at it, really. And we see that Barbara Gordon is paralyzed down the waist, and she's essentially had her crime fighting career as Batgirl ended thanks to the Joker. And what we see here in terms of psychological torture is he strips Jim Gordon naked, has him tied round his neck, and Joker essentially shows pictures of Barbara Gordon being stripped down and after she got shot by the Joker. That was probably the sickest thing that the Joker has ever done to anyone. So it really sets the stage for the eventual confrontation between Batman and the Joker. And I thought their fight scene was absolutely fantastic, very violent, very brutal, as you'd expect from, Batman and the Joker. Every time they go at it, it's always a fight. And I thought it was a very good scene. I thought that was very, very good. I thought it was really interesting that even after everything that Jim Gordon went through at the hands of the Joker, he still remained sane and he told Batman, make sure you capture the Joker and do it by the book. So I thought that was a very good scene. And the next scene we get here is quite interesting because after Batman's pretty much beaten the tar out of the Joker, he pretty much reaches out to him and offers him rehabilitation. And this was the first time that we actually see the Joker talk like a normal person. And he says to Batman that it's too late for him. There's nothing that can be done for me. And Batman says, it's not too late. Let me help you. Let me rehabilitate you. And we actually see Batman and the Joker have a normal conversation. So I thought that was really interesting. And we see Joker tell Batman about a situation that reminds him of a joke about two patients at an insane asylum who try to escape by leaping over to the adjoining building. And he explains that the first patient makes it across, but the second patient is afraid that he will fall. The first patient gets an idea and says, I've got this flashlight with me. I'll just shine it across the gap between the buildings and you can walk across the beam and join me. The second patient questions the idea, he says, and says, what do you think I am, crazy? You'll just turn it off when I'm halfway across. And then at first we see Batman, he's completely all dark and serious and doesn't say anything. And then eventually Batman and the Joker, in a very odd and weird scene, both start laughing together, which is something I never ever thought I would see. Batman and the Joker laughing together. It's just really weird. And even after the police take him away, Batman is still laughing, and that's pretty much how the Killing Joke ends. But we also get a post-credit scene where we see Barbara Gordon is now in a wheelchair, and we see she becomes the computer whiz kid Oracle while preparing to go back to work. So I thought, that was a nice way to end Barbara Gordon's story arc, but also start off a new chapter for herself as the Oracle. And in terms of the whole animated movie itself, I thought it was excellent. I thought they did a really good job adapting Alan Moore's graphic novel. I thought they stayed pretty true to most of it. I mean, the edition that I got has an extra part of story where the Penguin shoots Batman in the head and he's just left for dead, really. They didn't include that here, which is fair enough. I can appreciate that. I think we've had enough dark stuff already. So, in terms of my overall rating for Batman the Killing Joke, if it wasn't for the Batgirl prologue, I would have rated this movie even higher. I probably would have given it a much stronger rating. But I'm going to be truly honest, the Batgirl prologue makes me lose a few points for this one. So I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. If not for the prologue, I probably would have given this maybe an 8 or a 9. But I'm sticking with my guns. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. I'm only being honest. It's not bad, but it's not terrible. It's somewhere in the middle. The Batgirl prologue was not needed, it was unnecessary, and served little purpose to the story because when Barbara and Bruce did see each other again in the movie, in the main plot, their little tumble on the rooftop wasn't even mentioned. So I didn't really see the point in adding that. I know why Bruce Timm wanted to do that, but I just didn't see the point. And, the idea of Joker being a nice guy and turning evil, it was okay, but I've always liked the idea that the Joker was already a bad guy. So when he falls into the vat of chemicals, he just embraced that madness and turned into a full-blown monster. So that's just my opinion, really. So I'm giving Batman the Killing Joke 7 out of 10. As I said, if it wasn't for the Batgirl prologue, this rating would have been a lot higher, but still very enjoyable nonetheless. I thought they did a really good job adapting the main plot of The Killing Joke. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on Batman The Killing Joke? Did you enjoy it? Do you agree with my rating for Batman The Killing Joke? Or do you have a rating of your own for this movie? Did you think they did a great job in adapting the original source material of Alan Moore's original graphic novel? And what was your thoughts on the Batgirl prologue? Do you think it was needed? Do you think maybe that could have worked as a DC showcase short, as an extra? Or do you think they should have just completely cut it out altogether? And also, what did you think of the post-credits scene with Barbara Gordon becoming the Oracle? Did you enjoy that? Did you think they did a good job addressing Joker's origin in the movie? And also, what did you think about the ending with Batman and the Joker laughing with each other when Joker told his joke? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the movie review series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.